everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Rogue Deck Chronicles. My name is Dean, and next to me is my friend John.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode.
So this week we have a very special guest with us. I don't know how we pulled it off, but we have the one, the only, Christopher Shemansky, part of the Pokemon Professor program.
Dean,
What?
slow your roll.
What?
You never sent out the email.
I didn't?
No.
Oh well, but...
We do have another guest, but...
We do, yeah. One person answered our email. In all seriousness, when we started this podcast, one of the first topics we wanted to cover was being part of the Professor program. Both John and I are part of it. And today we actually have the Professor from one of the leagues that we go to every week. The Rogue Professor himself, Glen. Why don't you say hi to everyone, Glen?
Hi to everyone, Glen.
But yeah, no, in all seriousness, Glen is part of the reason that Dean and I are part of the Professor program. He's part of the reason that we both got into playing Rogue decks. So definitely wanted to have him on and get his experience, get his story, and also talk about Rogue decks and being a professor that likes to play Rogue decks.
Yeah, Glen was the one that actually taught me how to play this game. I came in about 5 or so years ago. And I'm like, hey, I want to learn how to play. My brother told me I should learn, and he showed me how to do everything. We were an expanded shop at that point, and my first deck was Lolan Executor with Mew or something like that. Something weird. And then
You play a weird deck? What?
Yeah. But ever since then, Glen has been there mentoring me, teaching me how to play, and then once I got in the Professor program, kind of mentoring me that way, showing me the ropes of how to judge tournaments and just sharing these experiences with him the last couple of years. We just want him to share his advice and his experiences with everyone, with you all. So, Glen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Glen, graduate of USF,
Go Bulls.
local university.
I think all of us are alumni there, right?
Yeah, we all graduated different times, but yes, we all went to USF.
Yeah, that moniker of "You Stay Forever" definitely kind of applies to the Tampa area.
Yeah.
Yeah, great place to live. Love it. So yeah, I started with Pokemon back in '98, getting ready for college each morning. I'd have a long commute from Port Richey to Tampa. But early in the morning, I got to watch Garfield and Friends, and then follow that with Pokemon. I didn't know it at the time, but I was watching, first run Pokemon, the start here in the States of a revolution with Pokemon here. So yeah, that's my first encounter. I definitely had a Game Boy back in the day, and I definitely played Red or Blue, but I don't remember which, and I couldn't tell you who my starter was. That's lost to the time. A few more years later, my next encounter with Pokemon was roughly 2009 or so, when my nephew, who was about 10 or 11 at the time, had a collection of cards, wanted to learn how to play. I didn't know, so I went out to the store, got a starter deck, which had the rulebook. Brought it back, learned how to play from the rulebook the way Pokemon envisioned, taught him how to play, played a few games. That deck happened to have, Shaman as one of its cards, and that's kind of where my lifelong fascination with that as my spirit Pokemon, as Tia likes to say. That's where Shaman came from. And then I got my start for real in Pokemon at a local league out of our local library, New Tampa Library. The family just happened to be going to the library on a normal family trip. One Saturday, and in the community room adjacent to the library, the local league leader there, Austin, was running Pokemon League. We poked our head in, asked the boys if they wanted to play. They said yes, so we became Saturday regulars there. And then where I got started with the Professor program is a couple years later, Austin took work out of state, had to leave the league. And the league would have folded if somebody didn't take it over. And me, with that consummate disease of raising my hand, asked what's involved. And what's involved is becoming a professor, specifically professor organizer. Took the test, became a professor, took over the league, and the rest is history. Now I, keep running that league out of our local comic store, Coliseum Comics. And I've been doing so, since. So it's going on 10 years. I moved the league to the store when they opened, and I haven't looked back. It's my home shop.
Awesome. So I can definitely say that I'm the most recent professor out of us. I got my I guess license or whatever you want to call it, the beginning of this year after multiple attempts at the professor test. I missed it by one both times I took it before, so it wasn't that I was way off. But I would say, how has the way you become a professor or organizer changed? Has it really changed since you started, or?
So from when I started to now, it has not changed all that much.
Okay.
When I took it, the entry requirement was you had to submit to a background check, pass a basic background check, criminal background check, and take a relatively straightforward 10-question quiz that evaluated you on your basic knowledge of league rules, the data collection requirements, how to take attendance and submit it to Pokemon so you get credit for people attending, and some very basic judging questions, how to resolve some simple card interactions, just to make sure you got a basic knowledge of the game. Assuming you pass that quiz and you pass the background check, you're in the program. And once you're in the program, there are three tracks that you can pick: organizer, judge, trading card game judge, or video game judge. As the organizer, you're now able to run a league. That has changed in the last year or so, maybe the last 2 years, where Pokemon has stopped allowing club leagues out of libraries and such, and they have to be attached to a store, where the store is now the league owner, and professors help run the league, but the store is the owner. And they've made a greater focus on more. They've added some more professionalism to the program, increasing the not so much the requirements to get into the program, but to grow in the program. There's more ways to grow in the program now than there were originally.
Okay. So
you've been a professor for quite some time now. But what does it mean to be part of the professor program? What is this program when it comes to competitive Pokemon or just your league in general? Like, what is the significance and importance of it for us that want to go to a store and play with people?
Yeah, so the professor program is a way for people that are really passionate about the game, that love the game, that want to see it grow, to officially work with the Pokemon company to help make that happen. It's Pokemon's version of a professional development program. The professor program works similar to the way volunteer firefighting works. A volunteer firefighter, they're not paid directly by the city or county that they work for, but they are trained by the company and held to certain standards as a firefighter. The same is true of professors here. Not directly paid, but offer training and in-kind compensation for our time, and offer professional development on how to better run leagues, how to more efficiently run the leagues, how to effectively judge and run your events. So all that training is made available at no cost, which then gives you the opportunity to run more and higher caliber events at your local store, and with enough experience to be able to participate and run really high level events like regionals and beyond.
Okay. So what would you say is one of the favorite things that you've been able to do while part of the professor program?
So my favorite thing is just running my league day to day, the day-to-day running of the league. Being an organizer scratches certain itches, seeing it every week, all the people come out, my friends come out and play, having that opportunity to play, providing that opportunity to play. That's reward number one. I also love being able to teach new people how to play, to try to grow the league through training and teaching, especially helping the players that are motivated to learn are the most fun to teach because they want to learn. And even better is when I can drag the parents along, and then it becomes a family event. The family that plays together, so to say. But yeah, that's the best part here. It's just running the league and it being an opportunity for people to play.
Cool. Yeah. So being all three of us part of this program, I know we're different levels than what you are. Both John and I are considered basic professors, while you are a stage 1, correct?
Stage 1. Mm-hmm.
So, can you give a brief explanation of like what the different levels are and what does that mean in relationship to being a professor?
Sure. So, within the professor program, there are 3 tracks that you can take for your professional development here. You've got organizer, which is all about running the events, and then there are judging, trading card game judging, and video game judging, where you're resolving conflicts and disputes during the actual play of a game. There are 3 main levels in the professor program that mirror the video game itself: basic, stage 1, and stage 2. Everybody starts their track at a basic with just a basic knowledge quiz and a simple background check. And you can be more than one role at a time. So you can be a judge and an organizer at the same time, picking up different roles at different events as you want. Stage 1 is a more advanced role where if you're granted the role of stage 1, Pokemon expects more from you, but then offers more opportunities at higher level events. In order to become a stage 1, you need to first have some amount of experience at your local level here, running events or judging events. And once you've accumulated enough judging credits or organizing credits, you can take a second quiz, which is a more advanced quiz that asks more technical questions of, it's a greater knowledge check. They'll ask more advanced questions. How do you resolve difficult situations when organizing? What happens if certain difficult situations arise? How do you resolve them? They'll also ask some personality questions. Yeah, so they'll ask a more advanced quiz and some personality questions, such as why do you want to be in the program? What are your personal goals for being in this program? What do you hope to get out of being an advanced stage 1 professor? Because at the stage 1, Pokemon wants to get to know you, because once you're the stage 1 judge, they're going to offer you more in terms of staffing positions at higher level events like regionals or other opportunities to participate in Play Lab or Gen Con or other locations. And then within the official Pokemon track, there's also stage 2. Stage 2 are the folks that typically run the large events, or they're the head judges at the large events, or they are significant players within the local community, typically overseeing more than one store or coordinating with dozens of stores in a coordinator or mentor fashion. In order to do that, you no longer need a quiz, if I remember right, but you have to fill out an application, and you'll actually interview with the Pokemon Company to be accepted at the stage 2 level. Yeah, there's also one more level, not officially part of the professor program, but it's a paid position with the Pokemon Company called the Regional Professor Coordinator. These people are, they're stage 2 professors to start with, but then they're actually, offered compensation from the Pokemon Company to officially oversee a region of their country. The Florida area, for example, has roughly 10 states in the southeast region, Florida up through Tennessee and over to Louisiana, and there's one region or RPC coordinator that oversees that and tries to coordinate and be a resource, a mentor for all the professors in that area.
Oh, wow. So, I guess next kind of question that we have is, we kind of talked about what is your favorite part of being a professor with seeing the league grow and stuff like that. What are some of your least favorite things? Because there's always going to be a give and take. You're always going to have some things you like, some things you don't. But what are some of your least favorite things or struggles that you've had as a professor and organizer?
Yeah, you're right. It's not all sunshine and roses. Just mostly sunshine and roses. Some of the the harder parts are the ambiguous judge rulings. The he said she said sort of rulings where you literally just have to make a judgment call. There is no right answer. You just have to decide. Those are always inherently tough. It's difficult making kids cry, although strangely satisfying at the same time. You give that hard ruling, totally obvious, but the kid it's the first time they've been penalized, and they just break down. And you're like, come on over, Dad.
Yeah.
Those are good. But the hardest part for me has been kind of a mindset change from trying to have our local league be kind of a free casual to play to making it more sustainable for the store. The store has been struggling a little bit, looking at the Pokemon numbers here, and while we have amazing attendance and great loyal players, the per dollar spend or however they categorize it here just isn't showing up. And in order for Pokemon to stay viable at our location, it needs to pull a little more of its own weight. And so, changing that mindset, getting more into the business than I necessarily wanted to, but it's becoming, more obvious and more necessary in order for Pokemon to stay viable at the store. We gotta balance that a little bit better. Yeah. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, that's something I've been seeing as well, being a local of the store and kind of being part of the league leader group with you and talking about different events that we want to do and try and just how can we make it to where the store is making money, but also provide a fun experience for the players. And it's a hard balance to do, especially knowing our clientele, not necessarily people or families with a lot of money, but it is that hard conversation. Like, okay, if we want to stay at the store, we need to start offering more paid events. That way the store gets something from us, but we also can make that event a fun experience. And I know we've been doing that a lot lately, and tomorrow we have a event that we're doing, like a King of the Hill type of deal for the World Celebration, and just being able to bounce those ideas off with you. I know part of that Discord discussion with you, and just seeing your leadership through it all, knowing that you are the main league organizer and asking our input from it. I know we greatly appreciate it as players, and also I know the store is probably appreciative because now we're going to get stuff, because sometimes like part of being a player is we want to support our local stores, but if there isn't something we're interested in, I'm not going to be able to spend my money there. And I know sometimes product demand is there, product supply is a problem, and it's nothing with the store. It's just the reality of a situation, and hosting these events is a way to support the store without needing to worry about buying sleeves or dice or whatever a player will need to do this hobby.
And I think you bring up a good point there, Dean, and I think both of you bring up a good point, is unfortunately we do have to understand that these local game stores that are hosting our leagues, they are a business. They are there. Like, I know the workers there, we all have good relationships with everybody that works there, but it also is a business, and they have to put the business first at points. So sometimes those hard discussions do come up as an organizer or as somebody that's a judge that's working the events as well, is we also need to respect the space that we're in. And so it is a business. They are going to be at points profit first, and that's understandable. But like you said, I think it needs to be a balance of, yes, we as players need to be kind of spending money there, whether it be entries into league or events that we're doing or buying sleeves or cards. But the store needs to also understand that if they don't have the product that we're looking for, we're not going to want to spend money there either. So it is a happy balance that, unfortunately, I think all three of us are starting to realize the more we get involved in the upper leaderships of running leagues and or dealing with sponsorships for the podcast and stuff like that, is understanding how this is actually going to run, those kinds of things. So, but obviously, as we're talking about making sure wanting to have the league grow, the area grow, all that kind of stuff, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals for being a professor, judge, organizer, kind of all three there?
Sure. So short-term, what I'm mainly worried about is making sure that the players that currently come continue to want to come, that there's a reason that the events are still fun, enjoyable, that they're getting what they want out of the league. In addition to that, I'd like to grow it. There's still a few seats that aren't filled every week. It's nice to fill those. I remember the heyday a couple of years ago when we were standing room only. That was fun bit of chaos. But even now, we have a great crew. About 3/4 full every week. Lots of people to play. So yeah, I just keep the keep the store happy and keep the players coming in, and make sure that everybody's satisfied where we are. Longer term, I've got two kind of large goals in mind. The first is I want to kind of reach out to the local schools and help to establish something of a Pokemon club, a network of Pokemon clubs. It's actually an official program by the Pokemon Company that and run through the American Library Association.
Oh, really? Never heard of that.
Yeah, so schools resource specialists, through their various media centers, can apply through the ALA's website, become a Pokemon club, and Pokemon will support them by sending them periodic packages of promotional material. If you've been to League in the last couple of years, you might have seen those League cards that we were playing around with. There's two sides to those. One is the Pokemon League Challenge, and the other side is branded for Pokemon Club. So Pokemon Club would get those along with a lot of the other promotional stuff to give out and help their kids play the card game. But I'd like to make sure that the schools know about this club and have the opportunity to take advantage of it. So I just want to kind of act like a coordinator in our area for schools. And then once the school has a club, then we become us at Coliseum become a resource that can partner with them. So might help run special events at the store, or when the students are graduating up from just club play and they want to go to the next level, we're there ready to go at the store to help their growth. The other one is I'd like to get more involved with the other organizers at the various stores in the Tampa Bay area to kind of build a Tampa Bay region network of Pokemon stores. Right now, we're a bunch of islands of stores here. Each one of us kind of does our own thing, schedules our own events.
Yep.
Don't really talk to each other. Our RPC, overseeing the entire Southeast, helps to coordinate the cups. But individual events, we're all kind of on our own, and that's fine, but we could maybe do better. Certainly, we could cross-promote each other's events, make sure that we're all aware of it, help build a common community platform like a Discord or something, where the community can partake, deck build, Poke Theory, and just know about all the various events in the area, help plan them out. But just get the professors more involved at those various stores and just help everybody grow Pokemon in the Tampa Bay area. We know Orlando next door is incredibly competitive, and Tampa's got some signs of life, but it'd be nice to take it to the next level, show Orlando what's what.
Yeah, for sure. I know in a lot of tournaments that John and I have been a part of just this season alone, even though we're early on, there is a lot of competitive players in the area, very good players. There's a decent amount there in Hawaii right now for Worlds, and that's not including Orlando people. This is people that I can drive 30 minutes to. And it will be nice to connect with the other stores and kind of, like you said, cross-promote and develop that network to where we can support one another and not make it be a competition. But we're like, hey, we're all part of the Pokemon community. Let's make sure our leagues are all successful, and let's do different events. Let's maybe join up on some events and just kind of move in that direction. I think that would be very helpful for our community. And I think it will make our players even better trainers, because then they'll have more opportunities to play the game and get to meet other good trainers too. You can only grow so much on your own, if you can rub shoulders or get mentorship from other people. And these are the type of events that we need to kind of just make the introductions to people in that way. So we talked about short-term and long-term goals as being part of the professor program, but I'm sure you had some great experiences doing this. I know you and me were selected to staff the Orlando regional this past season. I know you've done other regionals and ICs.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about some of your experiences from being part of the professor program?
yeah, so the best experience, of course, is the stereotypical friends you meet along the way. That is hands down the best part of this. Being in this program, it's the main reason I run the league at all. Is just so I've got a place to play with friends every week. But being in the professor program, especially as I've gone up through the ranks here, it's unlocked a few opportunities that just wouldn't have happened otherwise. It starts with being invited to staff various regionals here. At this point, I think I've staffed 6 or 7 regionals, starting with Orlando, our local regional each year. Before Orlando was in Daytona, but still there's a Florida regional each year, and I've been to that a couple times. I did travel out to St. Louis once, made that a road trip. Underestimated how long 16 hours in the car actually was. Won't do that again, but it was definitely worth it, for the experience.
10 of those hours being in Florida now.
It felt like it. But also, I've been actually, a couple times a year actually paid by Pokemon to go as an invited trainer to Play Lab up in Boston. PAX East, the Penny Arcade Expo. Pokemon has a large booth at that expo where they teach thousands of players how to play the game.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's an amazing factory for teaching people how to play. Very well run, very efficient. But just having every 20 minutes somebody sit 4 people sit down, teach them how to play the game. Watching that that moment of when it clicks and they go, okay, now it all makes sense, and then they walk off with a deck of their own to go play further, and just getting to do that for 8-9 hours a day. For 4 days, in the hustle and bustle of the PAX Expo, amazing. And then and this year I actually got through my Play Lab experience, got invited to help out with the North American International Champion in New Orleans this year, be a part of their Play Lab team as well, where we saw another 3,000 Louisiana locals come through and walk away learning how to play the game.
That is a surreal number. 3,000 people just to learn to play the game. That's not even competing. That's just people wanting to okay, what is this trading card thing? Put it in perspective. There was maybe 3,000 players in the trading card game at all.
I think
2,000-ish masters, and then
it was 2,300 masters, 400 juniors. And I think 700 seniors, so close to right around 3,000 players in the card game alone.
So the same amount of people that went to compete playing the trading card game learned the trading card game. That is such a bonker number right there.
Yeah.
And that you were a part of that experience for these new trainers too. That's awesome.
It really is. That's the best feeling is teaching the new people how to play. I can see why teachers keep doing what they do despite all the adversity that they face. For those moments when they actually get to teach.
You mean people not paying attention to you during a class? It's so much fun.
But yeah, the other side benefit of working these large events, being invited to the premier events, is that I'm working alongside premier people. Just getting to watch people at their best. Work alongside judges, operating at a high level, fellow trainers teaching other people how to play. I learned so much from them, having, just world-class mentors at my side.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might be time to start kind of diving into, the namesake of what the podcast is. We do have the Rogue Professor here with us. So we might as well ask some Rogue Professor questions here. So why did you get into playing Rogue decks more so than the main meta decks?
So, main reason is that meta decks are easy. Anybody can play a meta deck. Super easy to grab whatever the best deck is and off the net and build it and play it. It takes a lot of skill to play it well, but anybody can play them. I did that once competitively. It's one of my few memories of competitive play back in 2015, 16, something like that. Went to a Florida States when it was still a state. And and picked up a Rayquaza deck that was all the rage at the time. I just took it right off the net, sleeved it up and played it alongside my boys who were also playing that event. And my first round was against Harrison Levin, pretty respected player, especially at the time. And I managed to eke out a win in that first round and totally sent him on tilt for the rest of the event. I think he ended up going 8-1, and it always felt good being that one for that event. Yes, but that's my first and last time playing competitively. It's just too much stress for me. So rogue decks, I like rogue decks for two reasons really here. First, as the organizer and teacher here, I want to make sure that players know that there's more to Pokemon than just the meta decks. That there's way more combinations that you can do with these cards. That it's perfectly possible to play a good deck out of a lot of these cards, and even if it's not going to be the best deck, it's still a good deck, and you can still have some fun with it. And the other reason is, rogue decks are typically cheap. You can usually build them for pennies, maybe sometimes nickels. But one of my main goals as the league organizer is to keep the game as affordable as possible to players here. I don't want them to think they have to go drop $150 on a Charizard deck and then top of the line sleeves and a play mat and a custom deck box. And that's great if you want that, but that's definitely not required to play. And I want to make sure that everybody's aware of that by showcasing non-meta decks that are really affordable.
Yeah, I know you're the one that taught me how to play, and it was always against these rogue decks. And whenever we meet up, just like for fun, I remember when we were watching EUIC, the three of us plus some other friends, we met up and we were trying to let's play some of the new decks. And you roll up with Sea King, I'm playing Great Tusk Mill, and we're just playing all these random decks, and it was just a really fun time.
That's because you two weren't playing Orlando.
That's true, yeah, we weren't really.
I was trying to play test, and you guys are like, here, we're going to mess with you.
Here's a deck you'll never see.
Right?
In my defense, I thought Great Tusk Mill was going to be at least a little bit played at Orlando.
I did hit it in the challenge, and I knew how to play against it because I played against you, so I'll give you that.
But yeah, it's just being a player that was brought up in this league and under your mentorship, seeing that you don't have to play a meta deck, it was very big for me because I don't like playing the meta decks either. I've never gravitated towards those. As you know, I've always been playing the rogue decks. That's why we started this podcast, and just being able to know you can play something off the wall and still do pretty well with it. You competed in one of the cups that at one of the shops that we go to and help out sometimes, and you went fairly well with Sea King. You almost made top 8, and it shows that these can be just as competitive, if not more sometimes, than playing for instance now Charizard EX or Dragapult or playing Raging Bolt or whatever the best deck is at the time. And sometimes it just, you have more fun. You're not there just for competitive sake, but you're there just to enjoy yourself and to see how people react to what you're bringing. And I know you've taught that with me, and I greatly appreciate that in my journey as a trainer, and seeing how that is one of your goals with new trainers. Let's do this. Let's train you in a way where you don't have to do XYZ. You can make it whatever you want to make it.
So, obviously we've talked about different styles of decks because we cover the local meta that we're seeing in the tournaments that we go to as well. But even with the rogue decks of the week that we have been covering, there's been different styles of rogue decks as well, and I don't think people really notice that because they're rogue decks, not as many people are playing them. But would you say that there's a specific type of rogue deck that you go to?
Yes. The first rogue deck that I remember playing that I would consider a rogue deck was Durant Mill back in the early Black and White era. Mill, if you're not aware, is the third win condition in Pokemon. The first being just take all your prizes. The second being knock out all of your opponent's Pokemon so they have nothing left on the bench. But the third, rarely used, is if they have no deck left and they can't draw a card at the start of their turn, they lose. So a milled deck tries to take advantage of that by forcing them to discard their deck as quickly as possible. Durant is custom built just to make the deck, make your opponent discard their deck in a few turns here. So really, it's a race against the clock. Can you keep your ants going long enough to get the deck out before they just knock you out 6 times? Mill is typically never a truly competitive style of play. Usually you get a few cheap wins, but then once you know how to play against it, it's usually pretty easy to beat. But that's my first love here. It would be the concept of mill. Anytime mill, because a card is printed that potentially can mill the opponent's deck, I'll give it a try. Most recently we had Wug Trio. That was a fun flip 3 coins, mill a bunch of cards if you hit heads. It was a terrible deck, but fun to play.
It's still on the ladder. I still hit it on live on the ladder every couple of days. I'm like, why? Why is this still here?
Yeah, but that would lead into my second favorite deck, which is anything that involves lots of coin flips for maximum damage. They're terribly inconsistent. You would never want to rely on coin flips in a competitive setting, but at League, the high drama of the random coin flip just can't be beat. You can really ham it up with the coin flips and maximum tension from those decks.
One of the decks we feature on this podcast, the Bramble Gas deck, you actually introduced that to us. We actually used it in one of our training things too, and it's that when you attach all those energy, you're flipping so many coins, and that was fun to see.
Yeah, and I would say that I think when we're at League, when I'm seeing you play some of these decks against newer players or players that are still trying to learn the game and practice their skills, that's one of the things that I appreciate is a lot of the time rogue decks, you need to have your fundamentals down to be able to beat them. Like you said, you got to play around what the deck is presenting to you. And that's one of the things that I like, because when I'm practicing the decks that we're trying to build and get at least a decently competitive rogue deck, you're gonna make misplays. And I do this in sports as well as with Pokemon. Is like if I'm at a softball tournament and I play shortstop for my team, so I'm in a very high pressure situation most of the time with the ball coming flying at my head and I've got to make decisions. I'll misplay. I'll move in the wrong direction, or I'll make a throw to the wrong base at points, and I need to get out of my head. So I'll have my teammates or my coach drill fundamentals with me in between games, so that way I get out of my head and I get back to basics. And I think that's something that a lot of us competitive players can actually benefit from, is we get into a specific mode with the decks that we're playing and we start just autopiloting and then misplaying because we're not looking at the basics against a stranger deck or a rogue deck that's making us look at the game differently. And that's what one of the things that I appreciate playing the rogue decks against you is it makes me go, okay, I need to break down the deck that I'm playing to the most basic points and go, what are my basics? How do I move around this? And so I like that from teaching kids or even just brand new players at the start of, hey, this is what you have to do no matter what deck you're playing. And I think that's a great format to kind of get people into the mode of there. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think it is time for Rogue Deck of the Week. Dean, what do you think?
Yeah, we've asked Glen to bring out one of his decks that he's been playing at League last couple weeks. Kind of show us why he is named the Rogue Professor. So, Glen, what deck do we have this week?
Yeah, so what I've been playing lately is headed by Sinistcha EX. It's a stage 1 Pokemon with a really nice attack, Rebrew. 1 colorless energy. I get to place 2 damage counters on any 1 Pokemon that I want on my opponent's field for every grass energy in my discard. And then I get to shuffle those back into my deck so they can be reused. It's really nice because it gives me the opportunity to target whatever the opponent has in the field that I think is the greatest threat to me right now. It doesn't have to be the active. I can take out one of their support Pokemon, for example, or an easy 2-prize Pokemon if the opportunity presents. So Sinistcha just gives me options that players may not be expecting by being able to hit their bench. And also because I'm not placing damage, cards like Manaphy don't block it. Manaphy's a really great bench sitter because most bench attacks are doing straight damage. This is doing damage counters, which Manaphy doesn't stop. The engine behind this deck right now is currently Revavroom. It's got a really nice ability, Rumbling Engine. It lets me discard 1 energy from my hand and then draw until I have 6, which is great for getting a handful of cards and then also putting energy in the discard for Rebrew. I also pair this with a lot of Carmine. I run a full 4 line of Carmine. Carmine, discard your hand, draw 5. Drawing 5 is better in this case than 7 because with 5 I can then trigger Revavroom's ability again, or at least I can trigger it because I have less than 6 cards in my hand. I can use discard energy and draw until I have 6. So it allows Revavroom to still work, whereas a research with 7 in my hand, I couldn't use Revavroom anymore. The synergy is nice, fairly obvious. It's really consistent and sets up very nicely for early and mid game attacks. But it does have a problem toward the end game where you get so much energy in your hand and nothing else that your hand can get clogged, and you run out of ways to discard the energy to recharge the Rebrew attack. So I've got to play very carefully. There's a lot of thinking that needs to go into toward managing toward your end game, so you don't overextend yourself in the early game when it's easy and leave yourself out of gas at the end.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I know we've seen you play this with the newer players, and I'm not sure if I've played against you with that yet, but it does seem like a fun deck. Definitely a way to kind of rethink the normal strategy, because like you said, you can snipe any Pokemon that you feel like is a threat to you. So as your opponent's setting up, and if say they're having a slow setup, you can kind of knock out something that they need to really push on with the game, and it helps with resource management, like you said, because like you have to think about the end game, knowing that is a difficulty with this deck. How can I manage my resources to where I'm not spread thin, or I'm not going to draw into the cards I don't want to draw at that point in the game. This deck kind of touches on every fundamental lesson that you need to learn as a trainer, and it's good that newer players are seeing a deck like this versus more or less a meta deck, because like a lot of the meta decks either just hit hard or they're not fully well rounded. They're good for competition, but players can get stuck and it's like, I'm going to play this deck because it's good, versus I'm going to play this deck and this is why I'm playing this deck. And a deck like these decks that you show us kind of create a more well-rounded, more thought-provoking way of playing the game.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But I think normally we end our podcast with the Rogue Deck of the Week, but this week the Rogue Professor has brought a couple gifts here that we get to kind of have fun with here. So today is August 14th, so we can officially take a look at the Series 5 prize packs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
street dated for these. This is the first day they're allowed to be given out at leagues for league Pokemon events. And since this is run in conjunction with the league, I figure, hey, let's go ahead and open a few here.
All right, so let's go ahead and do a pack battle here and see what we get. All right. I may have gotten something. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So I got a Morty's Conviction. I got a Mela. I got the Morpeko that has the free retreat ability, which I may put in my deck. There's the deck I'm building. Mm-hmm. Techno Radar and the Dodrio, the one that's in the Hisuian Zolvark V and the Steelix deck. So I think this is pretty okay.
Decent. The hollow Techno Radar with the stamp looks nice.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that hollow pattern is really sparkly. Makes the trainer cards pop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what about you, Glenn?
Yeah, I got a rescue board, a Rabska, which actually could stop my Sinistcha there, so watch out for that. A Feraligatr that I still don't know how to take advantage of, but that may show up in a rogue soon. And a Future Booster Energy with that sparkly Cosmo Hollow.
Ooh,
yeah,
very
that looks
very nice.
Alright, so I got a Luxurious Cape, a Super Rod, Fluttermane, and I got Raging Bolt EX stamp.
Nice.
So I think I may have won this pack battle here.
I say John is the winner. So until next time, John, he got this one. But that was a fun surprise, and thank you, Glenn, for these packs. And then one last thing before we head out for the episode, as recording, Worlds is only a couple days away. We all have friends out there that are competing, and just want to see what are some of y'all's hot takes for this weekend. Like, what's going to take it down, or any surprising moments you want to see. Like, what is one hot take you have?
Quad Thorns is going to take it all.
Interesting.
I'm marking it now. Quad Thorns is taking it all. Nobody's ready for it.
It's been popping up on online tournaments, so I can see that. So
that would be fun. But Regidrago just got so many more tools with the Shrouded Fables set, and Worlds is going to be the first time you see it. It's hard to not see Regidrago doing some serious damage in the event.
Definitely.
Yeah, the Haxorus and the Kirum, those are very, very powerful for the list. I am going to say that the Palafin EX with the Petron is going to make day 2.
Nice.
I think someone's going to figure out how to break it, and they don't care about winning. They just want to have fun and kind of get people salty, and they're going to bring that, and they're going to do somewhat decent on it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
All right. Well, I think that's it from us here. You got anything left to add, Dean?
Just want to say good luck to all those world competitors out there. Like we said earlier, we have a handful of friends out there in Hawaii right now. By the time this pops or this comes up on Spotify and all that, you should take a listen to it while you're waiting in line and get your competitor badge. Yeah,
They would have already listened to it at this point.
they're 6 hours behind us. We can
By
hope.
the time you're saying this, they would have already listened to it. So,
yeah. but good luck to everyone out there. We have several friends out there. Just have fun, play some good Pokemon, and can't wait to hear your all stories.
Anything left from you, Glenn?
Just support your friendly local game stores. Visit them, play in their events, buy packs from them. That's the best thing you can do to keep those game stores going.
Definitely agree. Well, as Dean said, good luck to all our friends. Hope to see you bring back some hardware, and keep having fun playing your sneaky decks through the seasons.
See y'all.
Hey, all you rogues out there. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor and one of our home leagues at For Honor and Glory. They have all you need for your card game and tabletop RPG needs. Some upcoming events that they have are the Pokemon Go Challenge, August 13th, and the Pokemon Trading Card Game League Challenge, August 20th, as well as the World's Showcase event weekend of August 17th and 18th. You can go on over to forhonorandglory.com and use discount code ROGUE24. That's ROGUE24 at forhonorandglory.com for a 10% off discount for your entire order. All right, let's get back to talking about those sneaky decks.